Hey everybody, welcome. This is a tutorial to show you how to use the Territorial Authorities boundaries map on the Archive Central homepage. So if you go to our website, archivecentral.org.nz, you should land on this page and you should see this map in front of you. By default, it opens on our old county boundaries, and if you zoom out a little bit, you can see the extent. This is the basic area that Archive Central covers. So if you're looking for records outside of this area, you got to go to somebody else, basically. But inside of our region, we should hold all of the local authority records through time from about the 1860s to at least the amalgamation in 1989. But we're talking about this map here. Like I said, it opens on the old counties, and you can, if you roll over them, you can see Rangitikei County Council, Kiwitea, Waimarino, Wanganui. So if you look at this, you can see gray ones. Grayed out means they're actually technically not in our region, but there may be some connections with some of the records that we do hold. So that's why they're in this map. Everybody else we should have records for. And if you roll over one and click on it, let's say Kiwitea County Council up in here. Okay, so we're going to click on that guy. And you can see that it has highlighted the county. And over in this information bar, you can see it's got the name of the county, Kiwitea County, and it's got the date that it started and the date that it ended. And I've put in also, because boundaries changed over time, I've put in the date that this boundary came from. So I've seen it on a map that was published in 1924, and that's where I copied the boundary from. And so you can see that, like, maybe if your record comes from, let's say, 1970, the boundary could possibly have shifted. So that's just for your information. If something's not quite meshing in your research, that could be why the boundary could have shifted. In the information panel as well, I've got where the county was created from, in this case Kiwitea Road Board, and part of the Orua County Council, which I believe was, yes, underneath it. And then in 1989, it amalgamated to form what was the second version of the Manawatu District Council. So you got the basic information right here. I've also put a link in to the general listings for the entire county. So if you are just kind of looking and browsing and you kind of want to see maybe what records we do hold for that, you can click on this link and it should bring up the entire listings series for that council. Okay, so you have everything that we hold at Archive Central listed alphabetically here. You can also change it by date. If you go over to this column here and click on the dates, it should rearrange everything from earliest to latest. So you can see we have a record from 1890, and the last record, I think, yep, it's from 1990, okay? So, but if you want to go back to alphabetical, you just click on the name in the first column, and it will go back to alphabetical records, okay? So you can also, all of the information that I put in the map, you can also find academically by just reading the agent listing here. But like I said, I'm an artist. I'm a visual person. I like to see it in map form. So that's why I did that. Hopefully that helps engage other people as well. So back to the information panel. I also have put in links to the previous council and the current council that it sits in. I also have, we get a lot of requests for rate books, rate records, and for minutes, and then sometimes other things like maps and plans and stuff like that. Contracts, for instance. So I have tried to put frequently used series also in this information panel. So you can see this has minute books, agendas, and reports from the minutes as well, the minute meetings. And then I have rate books, rate cards, and rate assessment books as well. So hopefully that is very helpful for somebody. So I'll close that out. And I think for most counties and most boroughs, I have that information listed out. There may be, this is a work in progress, so there may be some that are not quite listed out. Yeah, so I don't have frequently used series for this Waipawa County Council. We don't actually have too many records for this guy, so that's probably why it's been left out. Similarly, Waitotara County Council, I only have 2 listings there. Anyway, so if I go back to the basic map, this is the counties. If I go over to here, I have the instructions over here too. You can click the data layers icon to view or hide other boundaries, and that's this guy over here. So if I click this guy, I'll open up my layers panel, and by default, like I said, it has the county boundaries that we hold the records for, and it also has town, borough, and city boundaries that we hold the records for as well. But you can turn these on and off. Okay, so we'll turn off the county boundaries, and we can see that I have borough boundaries coming up here. And if you roll over one of these, you should be able to see, you need to click on this guy, similar listings to the counties. So you can see that Foxton Borough Council actually stemmed from a local board at first, turned into a town board, then turned into a borough council. And again, because the boundaries changed so much, I've put in that this boundary was taken from a 1906 record, okay? So this little guy is from 1906. Now, a useful thing is to, if I open this up again, show this other boundaries layer. This other boundaries layer, watch Foxton here. If I click on that, I get a dashed line that represents a previous boundary for Foxton Borough. Okay, so this dashed boundary here, if I click on it, I can see that that dashed boundary was formed in 1866. And it is Foxton Borough, but it included the rural sections at the time, which is why it's so massive, okay? Interestingly about Foxton, right? Foxton is a harbor town, and back in the day, they thought that it was going to be pretty big, pretty important. It's got a navigable river. The Manawatu River is navigable at the time past the Orua confluence up here. So they thought it was going to be a pretty big deal, and you can see that by the boundary. Funny, now we know that Palmerston North City is the biggest in the region, and now I think we're sitting at, I'm going to guess here, 80 to 90,000 people. Not a huge city, but the biggest in the region, in the district. So that's interesting. And that happens a lot, actually. We can see in our records that towns were, they thought that they were going to be a big deal, and they kind of just weren't. And population centers have shifted. Pretty interesting. Anyway, if I go back to my layers panel, let's stick on Foxton because it's pretty interesting. If we go and show the old county boundaries, we can see that Foxton sat inside Manawatu County Council for a good period of time. If I go to my current district and a city boundary, I turn that off and turn that on, we can see that Foxton now resides inside Horowhenua District Council. And that's important because when we're looking for records for Foxton, we need to know at what time was that record created, because then we know whether to look inside Manawatu District Council records or Horowhenua District Council records. Pretty interesting. So yeah, boundaries change, and this is why I really like to see these on a map. Yeah, so if we go back to our layers panel again, if I turn off the current districts, I also have the regional councils. So you can see if you have a farm, let's say outside Ormondville, but you're not sure whether it sits in Hawke's Bay Regional Council or Horizons Regional Council, you could use this map to figure that out. And you can then go back in time and see whose county that sits in as well. So you can see using this map that if you have a farm inside this little area here, you were in Waipawa County Council at one time, but you are actually in Horizons Regional Council today. So that's important because you would think that the county council would align possibly with today's boundaries, but they really don't. They switch around a lot. So that's why I really, really like to see this stuff plotted out in GIS and in maps to really see the relationships. This is the current arrangement. If we zoom out and we have the current district and city councils and the current regional councils, these are the current entities that are in the Archive Central collection. And we'll see how long that lasts, because the central government has just decreed that regional councils, these guys right here, are going to be abolished. They just announced that a couple of weeks ago. So interesting times ahead for someone who is interested in territorial authorities. Might take them a few years to get this together, so we'll see how that goes. I hope that's helpful. I hope that helps you out with your research. It's just really another way to access the records that we have. I think it's really important that people with the different abilities and different ways of researching get equal access to these historic records. So I hope that helps somebody. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Was it worth doing? Is it helpful? Let me know what you think. See you next time.